Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and I want to show you how you can easily install the amazing Alpha One speaker set from BimmerTech into your BMW F87 M2. Alright, so let's talk about this. So this really is not all that hard and takes only a few simple tools to kind of walk through the process to replace your OEM speakers in your BMW with these amazing Alpha One speakers from BimmerTech. I had these in my previous F32 and it made a dramatic difference even over the Harman Kardon system that was in the previous car. And my F87 M2C also has the Harman Kardon, but you combine that with the amazing amplifier that's also from BimmerTech, and you have an entirely different experience off your stock or even upgraded OEM speakers. This install really isn't all that hard. It takes a few simple tools. I'm gonna walk you through it. Now, we're only gonna do one side of the car because taking off your door card, for example, on one side is going to be the same on the other. So I'll show you the central speaker, your door card, and your rear speakers, and walk you through this process on how you can upgrade this yourself. So we're gonna have to take the door card off to be able to get to both of these speakers. And this is probably the most complicated out of all of it. So let's go ahead and start with this. But again, it's not hard. It's just a matter of just kind of working your way through the pieces. So there are a whole series of screws holding your door card in place, plus clips all the way around. So one of the very first things you're gonna wanna do is actually get to the Torx screws. There's one back here behind this cover. There are two underneath your door pull grip, and there are two here along the base. They're T20s. Now, you're gonna wanna use a plastic trim tool. You'll reach here and you'll feel here at the bottom of your door pull trim, there's a little notch. Basically, you're gonna wanna work your plastic trim tool into that notch and very gently pry away. You should have heard a little bit of a pop, and you can feel the trim starting to pull away. Be really gentle as you do this. Last thing you want to do is apply too much force and do some damage to your car. Always use a plastic trim tool as well. Never use metal, because metal is going to scar up your carbon fiber or damage your interior. Just don't do it. And these plastic trim tool kits are really cheap. As you can see, I've even broken mine. I'm probably about to replace mine. So just work it up the door, and you'll work these clips free as you go through it. So that way we can get to the screws that are back here behind. Okay, so I'm gonna keep working at this and just work your way up. Keep working at it, and you can hear it working its way free as I work my way up this door clip. There we go. And it's free. Now you should be able to see there are these little pressure clips and a hook here at the top that helps hold this in place. Take this and put this someplace safe. Now what you should be able to see is here and here there are T20 screws, and there are two T20s at the bottom. Now the other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pull this plastic cover off right up here on the door pull. So just, again, gently and carefully work your plastic trim tool in and pop it free. And you'll see it comes free. Now you'll have to pull the door handle a little bit to get it to come off. And now that's off as well. And you can see the last T20 that you're gonna have to get to right here. So go ahead and take all of these out, and then we're gonna talk about working the actual door card itself free. Okay, so all the screws are out, so let's talk about this being a little bit more complicated just because it's gonna be hard to pull the door card and show you, so I'm gonna walk you through the steps before we do it. Now, all the screws are out, and you'll notice that they all look the same, so you don't have to worry about what position they go back into. But you've got things that are plugged into your door card. You've got the connection at the back of your door handle, you've got a plug that goes into your window switches, and you've got your light down here at the bottom, right, as well, that's also plugged in. So all of those things are wired into the door. So as you pull the door card away, you have to worry about all of that connections. So this isn't a matter of just pulling the door card off and bang, it's off. Now also, there are nylon flexible posts all around the outside and a series of clips across the top. If you've never pulled your door card, this is probably going to be very, very stiff, which is a good thing. It cuts down on rattles, right? It cuts down on issues and noises out of your door, but this is probably going to be a little stiff when you take it off. The recommendation is actually starting up here at the top of the A-pillar. What you're going to want to do is use your plastic trim tool and work it between the door card and the frame of the door itself work your tool in and slowly, carefully pry it away. And like I said, the chances are this is going to be very, very stiff. Don't be surprised if it really fights you. So you can use a small plastic trim tool or a bigger one to slowly wedge it in and start breaking those clips away. Now here's what you don't want to do. Do not pull on your door pocket here. These are all connected in separate pieces. If you pull on this too hard, you can separate it away from the rest of the door. That would be bad. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you've got your locking post up here as well. So as it does start to separate, you're going to have to fit it up and over the top of your locking post. So just work your way around. So I found that you can start either at a top corner up here or a bottom corner in the front and kind of work and start to get those to pop. They will make a loud popping noise, especially if they've never been undone before. So let's see if we can get one right now so you can get a sense of what this starts to sound like. Okay, so you basically just got to work it in. There's one. So hopefully you heard that. There's another. There's another. Okay, so good loud pop. So 1, 2, 3 down this edge, and I'm going to work my way across the bottom now too. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do all the outer edges first, and then gently pull the top edge away, because these are all clips that go in straight right here at the top. Once the bottom is free, I can pull this away, and then I can unplug everything on the inside of the door, because I can hold the door card with one hand. The back of your lock has a cable that comes up with a white assembly that goes into the back of your lock. Just gently pull that out and away. And I'll show you what it looks like when we get there, but it's hard to show right now. So let me get the door card free. I'll rearrange my camera a little bit so you can see what the insides look like. Okay, so it's free all the way around the outside along the bottom, and it's free most of the way along the top. I've taken the top and I've pulled it away, and you'll see these little clips here in a second, but I wanted to try to capture this last little bit here to show you what this looks like. So I've got a little bit there. Let's see, there was one more clip to go. Like I said, this can be very loud and can be a little disconcerting the first time you do it. Okay, and there was the last corner clip right there. I'm up and off the pin for the door right there. And as I pull this gently away, you can see I don't have a lot of cable space. Right here, I'm going to show it the best I can. You've got the door lock. You pull this gently up and away, and it comes off. It looks like that. So you can just gently let that hang down. Then you have to unplug all of the rest. You have to unplug your window switches. There's a little tab right here that's holding the cable in place. Gently pull that out and away and separate it. And then you can reach underneath. Now, the switch, I'm not going to be able to show you until this is off, but it's one of those typical BMW horse collar switches where you depress the little tab, then rock the horse collar back. It's just really impossible to show right at the moment. And I'll show it to you once I get this off. So there, I've rocked the horse collar off, and I'll show this in greater detail in just a second. Then the last thing we've got is the light right there at the top. Now we've got one more cable all the way down here at the bottom for the lights. So let's go ahead and take the little pin post out here that holds the cable in place, like that. And then your door projector light all the way down at the bottom. And your door card is off. So go ahead and take that and set it safely aside so it doesn't get dinged up. And let me show you what all these cables look like. Okay, now that the door card is off, I can show you some of these a little bit easier than when it's actually on. So again, you have these little pressure fit grommets that help hold the cables in place that you pulled off out of the door card. Make sure to put them back when you put it back together. Here is the plug for the bottom of your window switches. Again, it's this horse collar style where you depress right here on the top and you rock that horse collar back for it to come out. Okay, same thing, you've got just a little plug up here, but very careful. These tend to be really fragile. This goes into the light there in your door pull. And then of course, you've got the cable that goes all the way down to your light and projectors down at the bottom, which also has the same sort of little nylon expansion plug that goes into the door card itself to help keep the cables from rattling around. Really, really simple. Another quick look at the cable for your door pull itself. Here's what that looks like. So when it's in your door, you're pulling up and away to pull it out. So when you put it back, you'll slide it back in and down. And there's a little clip right here. Be gentle on these, because breaking that can be a hassle. So when you pull it off, be gentle when it comes out. Okay, so all really simple. Now we're just to pulling the actual speakers themselves so we can put the new ones in. So in this upper is your tweeter up here. Now what I find the easiest is actually if I press up gently, the cover itself will come off, okay? And then the foam with the speaker in it, there is a small hook at the top and a little plug at the bottom. And this is relatively thin and it's foam, so you want to be gentle on this. So you want to push up a little bit to get that top to come free, and then you can gently pull the bottom one away, and it will pull out and away. You can also do, if you need to, you can also use your plastic trim tool, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to tear any of this foam, right? So this will come out and away really gently, just like that, okay? So this is off. And you can see how this actually comes down and is actually plugged into your mid-range right here. So you can pull that out, and then this is free. And then I'll pull this in a second, and I'll show you how to replace the tweeter. But the mid-range is still plugged in, so you can go ahead and pull the plug for the mid-range, and then you pull these 3 T20s to actually get the speaker free. Okay, so once you have these out, and all of these screws are the same, so it doesn't matter what position you put them back into once you're done, right? So you just pull all of these out, just like that. Okay. All right, so then the speaker is free. You can just work that out. And then very gently pull the cable free. Okay, it's off. So there's the mid-range. Then here's the new mid-range. You can see substantial difference between the two. Huge upgrade here in the Alpha Ones. Okay, so the Alpha One is going to go back in very, very similarly, except in this case we've got the splitter cable. So you want to make sure that you have the right things plugged in where. Okay, so you've got one that says mid out. That's what's going to go into your mid right here at the back. Okay, you also have one, you look on this side, that says TW out. That's where your tweeter is going to plug in once we replace it in that little foam carrier. And then you're going to plug the original OEM cable into this and then reinstall the speaker. So let's show you replacing the tweeter. So with the tweeter, you've got this big foam assembly that goes into the plastic cover on the front. So what you're going to want to do first is work the cable out of the back. And then you can slowly work the foam away from the rest of this frame, just like that. Okay, set that aside, and then what you're going to see is you've got 4 little locking tabs, 1, 2, 3, 4, that all hold the tweeter in place. So you're going to want to use a small bladed screwdriver or your plastic trim tool or a pick tool to very gently pry those little fingers back so you can very gently pull the tweeter out. And again, I really want to emphasize gentle, because the last thing you want to do is break it. You could even potentially use your fingers, because you could press on the front. So if you press very gently, kind of work those tabs back, very gently work the tabs back. Because the last thing you want to do is break these, right? Because then your new speaker, your new tweeter might rattle around here a little bit, which would be a bit of a drag. Okay, and as you saw, just real time, working that out. It came out, and I very, very gently, so I was applying a little pressure from my fingers on this side, and very gently I worked one out so that the lip on the edge of the tweeter was out, and then I pried very gently on the other, and you can see the rest of it fit right out. Okay, so now that the tweeter is out, we've got the new one, and you're just going to put it in from the back side. So basically, you just take one edge, and I'm going to fit the edge of the tweeter under 2 of the little fingers, and very gently press into place. If I have to, I'm going to apply a little bit of extra pressure on those fingers. But what I really don't want to do is I don't want to break them. Okay? Just like that. Nice and simple. It's in solidly, as you can see. Okay? So all set there. So then all you're going to need to do is take the foam and feed the cabling back around, down through the track, through the foam, exactly like it was with the OEM. And then we can fit it back into place, put the cover on, and then I'm going to show you how it plugs into the mid. I also want to show you with the mid, there's a little notch for the cabling to make sure that it comes out from the inside. But let me show you that, and let me get this on, then I'll show you that. Now that the tweeter's back in place, I haven't put the cover on yet, but you certainly can if you'd like to. It's pressed into place and solid, so it's secure. Now we've got our mid. So it really only goes in one orientation because with the screw holes, there is, you know, one low and two kind of clustered together where the screws go. So that's the orientation that's going to go in. But the other thing I also wanted to point out, and hopefully you can see right here, is there's actually a notch in the frame itself right there. So that's where you're going to want your cabling to go, just like that. It's going to tuck into that notch, because when you set this back against the door frame, you're going to have a cable that's coming from the back, and you want it to fit into that notch like that right there. So you get a good clean seal of the foam on the back of the speaker, and the cable doesn't interfere. If it came out in a different place, it would be sitting between the speaker itself and the door, and potentially you could get it to not sit straight, or you could get some rattles or some other issues, right? So go ahead and I'm going to put in one of the screws for right now just to help hold it into place. But this way you can make sure that your cabling is run properly as long as it lines up with that notch. And we can put the other two screws in here in just a second. So we've got our speaker plugged into the OEM plug right here. And then we've got the TW out, which is your tweeter out. We've got the cable coming down from the tweeter. I want to take that and go ahead and plug that in, okay? I'm going to tuck the cable back behind so my cable management is good and I don't get any rattles, because I don't know about you guys, but I can't stand rattles. Okay, so that is it for this door. Now we just have to put the door back together, or put the door card back on, and this is the same thing you're going to repeat over on the other side. So it's really going to be the exact same process. Take your cover, slide it down, make sure it has a good clean connection there, and slides down because you want it to fit properly. And you can see it snap into place right there. So now your cover's on, which is good. And make sure that your tweeter assembly is snapped back in and is solid so it doesn't move around. Okay? And then make sure all the rest of your cables haven't gotten tucked away. You've got this upper power cable here, which is the light for your door pull. You have the plug for your switches. Okay, because what you're going to do now, and I'm going to pull the camera back so you can see a little bit better, but just like you did that last step in taking the door card off, where you hold it close and you plug everything back in, or you unplugged everything, now we're going to hold it close and plug everything back in. What I normally do is I'll plug everything in, and then I will secure across the top, because that will hold it in place and give me a chance to set all the rest in. So let me grab my door card. Let me put these two remaining screws in for the mid. Let me grab my door card and rearrange the camera a little bit so you can have a little bit of a better view when I put it back on. So what I normally do is I'll hold the door card with one hand, and then I'll start to reconnect everything. Do your door pin last when you're fitting it in at the top, okay? So I'm gonna do the switches first because it's got the longest cable. So I'm just gonna take that, fit it back into place, and then rock that horse collar down. You can tell that it's in place because it won't come back out. Don't forget the little nylon plug here that helps hold it in place. Okay, so I'm going to attach that in just a second. One of the last things I'm going to do here is actually the cable for the light here up in the handle well, because that is the shortest. Okay, you can also grab your door lock pole, bring that up, and like I said, you take it and you rock it in place. You just slide into place, click down, make sure that tab didn't break. Okay, it doesn't secure anywhere else. It just hangs out down here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down for my puddle light. I'm going to do that because it's got a nice long cable, so that should give me a chance to get that pushed in far, which it is. Okay, I'm going to attach its little cable retention pin just like that, and then I'm going to do the door light last. Now, once you do the door light, or the door pull light, fit this over your lock pin very simply. Okay, so it's over like that, and then line it up, and line it up with all these top clips, and very gently push into place. Now, the bottom clips are going to be a little bit firmer, and you're going to use your open hand, and I'll show you that in just a second. But let me get this set, and I'll show you securing the rest. Okay, so everything's plugged in and I'm just holding it in place with my hand right at the moment, okay? We can take it and just bang those clips into place, just like that. Okay, so now, here all along the top, you can take a look. So all the top is in place, the bottom is not. Now, this is where you have to be a little bit careful because these nylon pins can get out of alignment with the door. Some of the easiest ways is to use your fingers, because those nylon pins can get mashed pretty badly. So what you want to do is reach along, make sure all the nylon pins are lined up with the holes in the door itself, or you're going to mash them really badly. So this one's lined up, so I'm just going to bang it into place and just work my way around. I don't use any tools, I just use my bare hands. Just like that. Okay. And my cover's down where it should be. My cover raised up just a little bit. Okay. So all done there. All you're gonna need to do is put all your screws back in place, put your door pull cover back into place. Now keep in mind that this has got a hook at the bottom. So you're gonna take it and you're gonna hook it and then push those same clips back into place. Same thing with your door pull, okay? So take your door pull your handle out, slide it back on. But of course I've gotta put that screw in first, right? So I'm not gonna put it on yet completely. But that will walk all that through, put all those screws back in, make sure that it sits straight, and you're done with this door. We're gonna move on to the seats next. Okay, so let's talk about how we get to the subwoofers underneath the seats. So at this point, my seat is pushed forward as far as it can go. Now, there's always advice that when you are messing with your seats or that sort of thing to unplug your battery. You can certainly do that, but it's going to complicate this quite a bit as you have to move the seat forward to get to the back bolts and back to get to the front bolts. So in theory, you could run your seats forward, take out the two back bolts, run your seat back, take out the two front bolts, and then unplug your battery. If you do decide to do that, make sure that you do not close your trunk. You can also undo your rear seat latches and lay a seat forward in case your trunk closes, because if it closes with your seats up, you're going to be in trouble on how to get back to reconnect your battery. But if you choose not to do that, I also want to stress, do not unplug your seats. Do not take your seats out. Do not unplug them. Any stretch of the imagination. What we don't want to do is end up with some airbag errors. So what I like to do is run the seats forward, take the two back bolts out, run the seats back, take the two front bolts out, and then you're going to very gently tip the seat back into the back seat so you can get to the cover underneath. Okay, so let me take the rears out, let me take the fronts out, then I'll show you with the seat tipped back. Okay, so you can see the seat is tipped back, a little bit of an interesting angle, but I want to make sure to be able to see it. You've got 4 T20s that hold the cover down. So go ahead and pull all 4 of those, and then you'll have access to the sub itself, which we're going to unscrew, unplug, and put in the new one. Let me pull the cover, and I'll show you what the sub looks like. Okay, so the cover's off, and you can actually see the subwoofer itself. Now, when you pull the carpet back, it's going to be a little bit difficult to see. But for example, you can see the silver T20 right there. There are T20s in the corners holding this down. So what you're going to need to do is pull all of those. So you can see one's right there. You've got another back here. So as you can see right there, the nice thing is they're silver, so they tend to stand out. Okay, so you're going to want to work your way around the perimeter to pull all of those, and then you can pull the subwoofer. Now, the cable for the sub is right here. See, it's purple and right there. So you want to unplug that, and then we're going to fit the new one right into place. So I'm going to work my way around the perimeter, pull those 4 T20s, pull the cable, and we're going to insert the new subwoofer. Let's take a look at where we are here. So all 4 of those screws have been pulled out. They're all the same, so when you put them back, it's not going to matter. I've also tipped back the carpet here a little bit so you can see a little bit better. You don't necessarily have to do that. I just wanted to make sure that the plug here is really, really clear. Now, what you do have is you've got a series of plastic tabs around the outside that are holding the sub in place. There are 2 on each side, 2 here, 1 there, 1 there. What I found is that if I used my plastic trim tool on one, so I pushed this one back, and then I used a pick tool here, I used a curved pick tool on the other. Now again, this is metal on plastic, so I'm being very, very careful. So I've got a plastic trim tool, depressing back the tab on this side. I used my plastic trim tool on this side, depressed the tab back, hooked it underneath, and it popped right out. So now it's free, and it popped free of all the rest of the clips. So now all I need to do, and this actually saves a little bit of time. You don't have to pull the frame out. You don't have to pull any extra trim out. It's actually just quicker this way to get the speaker straight out, but you have to be very careful when you do it not to break any of those tabs. So the speaker is free. All I have to do is depress the tab on this magenta plug, and then the plug will come out, and then all I take is the new one and snap it right back into place. So let me grab the new one, let me pull this out, pull the plug, grab the new one, and I'll show you snapping it into place. Okay, so it's in. All four screws are in. As always, when you're putting metal screws into plastic, be careful, don't crank them down too hard. You don't want righty-tighty to become righty-loosey, to quote a mechanic buddy of mine. Okay, so all four of those in. I've got my carpet back into place. You don't necessarily have to peel that back when you're doing this, but I just want to make sure you had a good view on it. The plug is in and secure, so that's set. So all we need to do now is put the cover back on with the 4 T20s all the way around, put the seat back into place, and put those 4 big T50s back in, and make sure that those are secure and torqued down. So we'll get that taken care of, and then really the hardest part of really the install project is done. All I'm going to show you left is all that's left is I'm going to show you the center channel and the 2 rear decks, and they're going to be very similar, and it's really not that hard. Okay, so here are the rear bolts installed, and I'm going to do the fronts here in just a second when I run the seat back. So these bolts are torqued down to 42 Newton meters. So make sure you have a torque wrench. I'm going to run the seat back, put in the 2 front bolts at 42 Newton meters, and then we're going to move on to the front center channel speaker. Okay, so the big challenge on the center channel is more trying to find a good camera angle to show you, because you can see it clearly looking down through the windshield, but it's a very sharp angle, as you can tell, looking through in the cabin. But all you need to do again is take your plastic trim tool, get underneath this cover, and just gently lift up this cover. And as you work your way around, there are locking tabs on all sides, so you're going to want to just be gentle and make sure you don't break any, because the last thing you want to do is have something that's going to rattle or cause problems, right? So just work your way around with your plastic trim tool and work up the tabs in this cover. They should just slowly work their way free as you work your way around, okay? So after that, you've got a mid and a tweeter up here in the center channel that we're going to take out. And I'll try to find the best angle I can get to show you. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be screws securing the mid, and same for the tweeter. We're just going to take them out and fit them in. This is probably, as far as angle, just a little bit more challenging just because you've got your windshield right here. So go ahead and get your cover off, and then I'll show you the speakers. All right, so you're gonna have to forgive the reflection. This is looking through the windshield because it's gonna give you the clearest picture of what you need to do. So you can see the mid with 1, 2, 3 T20s holding it down, and the tweeter with 2, one at the top, one at the bottom. Now you can also see that the tweeter is shaped, and you're gonna, when you put the new one in, you're gonna wanna put it in with the shape and the same orientation. Now you're gonna have the same style of plugs that you did in the door, where you have the tweeter that plugs into the correct tweeter out, TW out, on that one cable. But all in all, you can see it's not all that hard. It's just a matter of just getting to it. So you need to pull the 3 on the mid, the 2 on the tweeter, plug it all back in together, and put it right back into place in a fairly narrow amount of space. So a T20, even with a thumb driver, can help quite a bit. That can help, get the torque you need to get these screws out, because there are very few tools that are going to be short enough to actually reach into that space. You could also potentially use a T20 on a small ratcheting socket as well. All right, so let me take these out. I'll show you the new ones, and we'll put them in, and we'll move on. Okay, so you can see that the new speaker is not set into place, but it's all plugged in. The tweeter's kind of sitting where it's going to be, with the correct kind of shape to the bell on that speaker, pointing the right direction, just like the OEM one did. And again, forgive the reflections. So what you'll see right here in that speaker housing is there's a notch, and that's where all of the extra cabling for the tweeter went down into, kind of that circular void space right there. So I'm going to secure the tweeter, tuck all the extra cabling down in there, put the cable off of the speaker through that notch. So that way it'll be a nice clean install. Then I'm going to put all of the T20s back in and snap the cover back into place. Now the cover, basically, it's got some hooks on this side and the posts on this side. So you want to hook it on this side and press it down into place on this side. So pretty simple. Let me put those 5 screws in. I'll show you what the final thing looks like, and then we're going to do one of the back speakers to show you, but it's going to essentially be exactly the same as this front center channel. And then you've seen the whole project and you're pretty much done at that point. All right, just a quick check. There you go. The new mid and the new tweeter in place, all secured down. I'm going to put the cover on. So then let's move to the back and show you how to change out the back deck speakers. Your headrests are kind of in the way, so it's actually easier if you lay your back seats down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sit with your legs in the trunk. And yeah, I know it's a little bit dark, sorry. But it's going to be the same process. You're going to use your plastic trim tool. You're going to lift the cover. You've got a mid and a tweeter, just like you did in the front channel, which is why I did that first. I wanted you to have a good view of that. It's going to be very similar, so I'm going to summarize it here because the process is going to be the same. Doesn't matter which side you start on, but it's really the best way to fit in is if you stick your legs into the trunk and sit on the folded down back seat. That way you can pry up the cover and you can pull the speakers. So let me get the cover off. I'll show you what the speakers look like, but we're getting pretty close to done. Okay, so as you can see, the cover is off. It's got a little bit different screws in this case. There should be still T20s. So we're just going to take those off and then do the same process that we've done. Put your new tweeter in that same bell-shaped orientation. Put your mid in, chain them together, screw them back down, and put the cover on. And assuming you've been doing the other sides at the same time, then you're all done. So wrap up, and we'll check it out when it's all done. All right, all done. Time to clean up, put your tools away. Thank you to BimmerTech for making such a fantastic product. I had to have them in my F87. And especially if you pair it with their amp upgrade as well. Those two are designed to run together. The amp itself with the OEM speakers makes a huge difference and can be a great single step forward. But the two of these two things combined make a huge difference. If you have any questions on how to install the amp, I've got an install video for that as well. Any tools and links that you need are listed in the video description below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to click subscribe and the little alarm bell. It makes a huge difference for my channel. And I'll see you on my next video.